Hello everyone online. Good morning or evening, wherever you are. Welcome to CasaOS 0.4.4 release online event. I'm Tiger. I'm part of the CasaOS team under S-Wheel technology. I'll be talking about the new release in the next 20 to 30 minutes. It's my pleasure to have all of you joining me and check out what's new. Before I go over the changes in the new release, I'd like to first talk a little bit about how we got where we are today. Everything started about less than 2 years ago. Back in the time, there were very few solutions for managing files and Docker-based apps. The solutions were either non-free, free as in both freeware or freedom, or it's complicated to use. So a small group of people decided to do it by themselves. That is when the first line of code for CasaOS was written. A well-known company today once dreamed about a personal computer in every home on every desk. Our dream is to have a personal cloud in every home. The team grown since then, and now we have 15 full-time team members working on CasaOS daily. And some of the team members came from our CasaOS community. For example, myself. I'm actually one of the earliest CasaOS users. I'm very glad that the community has also grown, but in a much faster pace. Today, we have almost 12,000 members in our Discord server. And we have 7 moderators from our own community. I'd like to take this opportunity to really appreciate their effort in helping others and maintaining the chats. Thank you. One important indicator of an open source project on GitHub is number of stars. The star count for CasaOS has been growing linearly since day one, non-stop, literally. Last time I checked, the total star count of CasaOS is almost 12,000. Thanks to all stargazers. Your recognition is critical to us. If you haven't started us, please do so. Thank you again. And next, I'd like to talk about CasaOS App Store. This is a screenshot of early version of CasaOS. I believe it's 0.2. As you can see, this idea of apps and App Store has been in the root of CasaOS since very early days of CasaOS. It's the starting point of CasaOS. We've been inheriting this idea release by release. Over the releases, we kept improving the experience of app and App Store. We've remodeled the user interface of App Store. We've added progress bar of app installation. We've refactored the code so the code for app management runs on its own. By separating from CasaOS main code, it has become more stable and gets iterated faster. We've been looking at app requests from our community, and we've been adding most wanted apps. Until 0.4.3, there were about 40 apps, all created by CasaOS team. In 0.4.4 release, we've made an even bigger change to App Store, which gives huge benefit in many aspects. Let's go over them one by one. First change I want to talk about is the App Store loading. There has been many reports of App Store does not load issue. However, it is very hard to catch and reproduce the issue locally, even within our team. Before this new release, app categories are pulled from the internet on the fly. In this new release, we've changed the logic so it pre-caches app categories behind the scene, which guarantees App Store is always available whenever you visit it. A snapshot of App Store is shipped with the release and in every future release, so you can see the App Store even before internet is available. Next change is quick search of apps within the App Store. Let me do a very quick demo. This is the new version of CasaOS. If I come over here to the App Store, you can see there's this little search bar. I can search Plex, and boom, all of the Plex related apps has shown up. This is the first feature contributed from our community by our friend Wisdom Sky. Kudos to him. And some other changes are, first, multi-language support. This is based on that CasaOS users are basically global, from all over the world. CasaOS App Store had been English only until this release. Let me do another demo quickly. If I go to Settings, if I change language to, say, Simplify Chinese, if I come back to App Store, immediately you can see all the descriptions of each app is basically in a different language other than English. All right, let me switch it back. And we also added multi-container support. This is also based on number of feedbacks from the community that certain applications run more than one container, for example, WordPress, Patio. Let me do another demo. Let me search Patio. Let's install. And let's give it a few minutes. As you can see, it's installing. And let's continue in the background so we can see whether the icon pops up. Now it pops up. Before I open the app, if I come to System Status, now you can see there are two containers running for this app. One is Patio itself, and another one is its dependency container called Mongo. If you hit on this triple dots and go to Settings, you can also see the settings for each container. And all of these is possible because we switch over to Docker Compose format, which I'll be talking about shortly. And the last big change is, I would say, the most exciting change anticipated by the entire community, which is the support for third-party App Store. Together with all app stores, there's a total number is 200 plus apps in total versus 40 apps before this release. That is just phenomenal. So, what have you done? In the previous release, before the current release, we've been using this proprietary app file format designed by CasaOS team by ourselves. It's JSON based. And because it's designed by us, not many people use it before. The learning curve is a bit high. And in this new release, we've completely switched over to an open source based format, which I just mentioned. It's called Docker Compose. It is a format that has been battle-proofed by the entire industry and millions of Docker containers today running on internet. In this move, 90% of app-related code has been rewritten. I know what you're thinking. You don't have to worry about your legacy apps, which will continue to run during and after updating to the latest release. No automated migration running in the black box. Your legacy apps are safe. You should be fine upgrading to the latest release. Now, some people might ask, what if I really want to migrate my legacy apps over to the new app format because I need the functionality that are available to the apps? For this, we have a feature for legacy app, which is export as compose. Then you should be able to import the compose, which then become the new app. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of you might think, this is tedious. Why so many steps? We hear you. We heard this feedback from many early adopters of CasaOS 0.4.4 alpha. Therefore, we've added a one-click option for this. Let me do a quick demo. Here, this is a legacy app that was installed before the upgrade. Now, if I go here, this feature is called Rebuild. If I click on Rebuild, it automates both export as compose step and then re-import as compose step. Let's see what happens. Now you can see it is rebuilding. In less than 2 seconds, you can see the same app in the new format is showing up. If I come to settings, you can see all the settings for the new Docker Compose-based app is available. But if for some reason your new app doesn't work, you can always click on uninstall. Make sure you uncheck delete user data. Then you can always come back to your old app and then turn it on. So it's safe. And this feature is available in 0.4.4-1. I'll be talking about the release cadence since 0.4.4 shortly. Now, the next question is how to create an app in CasaOS App Store. Here, I want to call for help for you guys to get started contributing to the apps to our App Store. Because the growth of CasaOS App Store heavily depends on our community. It's a collective, community-driven effort. A brief contributing guide is here. If you have a phone, go ahead and scan this QR code, and then you can go through the instructions. And on the right-hand side, it's an actual example. Here is the example. Let me zoom in a little bit. let me collapse all the details first. Now, at very high level, this is just a typical Docker Compose file. It has two services, which in other words, containers. It has one network, and it has this, what do you call it, extension property that has all the manifest information, which will be picked up by CasaOS. This is a multi-container app. Within each container, you can see the properties are pretty much standard properties. Other than that, there's this extension property you can look at. And in this root extension property, there's this architectures property, which tells the store which architectures this app support. This main property, this is essentially the ID, which is supposed to be unique across the entire App Store. And here is the description in multi-language. I'm not going through the rest of the properties. They're supposed to be intuitive, but if you have any question, feel free to join Discord server and go to CasaOS-dev channel and then let me know. Now, let's talk about the exciting feature I mentioned, the third-party store, a bit more. If you're interested in building your own app store. Here is basically a minimum stripped-down version of App Store. It has two apps, as you can see. It has some other files. The license is basically the licensing information of your App Store. The readme.markdown, it's basically the description of your App Store. The category list.json is basically the definition of each category that your apps belong to. And then the last one is recommend-list.json. Scan this QR code, then you'll be able to see the actual code for this example app store. Remember, you can always go to awesome.casaos.io and then see other app stores. Essentially, on GitHub, let me quickly switch over. Let me visit this app store example I have. In this link, this is actually the link which will be passed over to CasaOS. Once you have this URL to the zip file of your third-party app store, which is here, you can copy it, come over back to CasaOS, click on App Store, click on Add Source, and then paste the URL here, and then click on Add. And then quickly, we should be able to find the new apps. Let me just do a quick search. Link. Now you can see this app came from the third-party app store in the example I built. And then behind the scene, CasaOS will synchronize this file from this URL every few minutes and update the category internally. Again, if you have more questions on how to set up your own third-party app store, please join Discord server, go to CasaOS-dev, and then let me know your question. Let's talk about the new release cadence. Starting from 0.4.4, the team has decided to enter a LTS mode, long-term support mode. And 0.4.4-1 is the first minor release of the entire 0.4.4 series. There will be 0.4.4-2, -3, and go on in a more frequent cadence, say 1 or 2 weeks. This way, it gives a much shorter feedback loop between the community and CasaOS team. It should greatly encourage the participation of community, which are you guys online, to get involved in CasaOS iterations. Now, one more thing. It's not all about App Store. In this new release, we've also introduced this feature, which I'm super excited about as well personally, and I can't wait to demo this quickly for you guys. Let me come back to the demo site. I put it on one site. And let me put up a virtual machine. This is basically pointing to the same site, except one is running inside a Windows sandbox so that CasaOS site can tell they're from different machines. So on the left-hand side, let's go to Files, and then let's click on File Drop. Now you can see there's this icon labeled as Windows Edge. That's the name of my browser, and that's myself. That's me using this device. And then let's come over to this right-hand side and log in. And then let's visit the same place, Files Drop. And quickly, you can see the Files Drop UI, it found another session nearby, which is this Windows sandbox. Let's try send a file. For example, this readme.md. And quickly, you can see here, it asks whether I want to save this file or not. Let's do save. And let's try to send another file, just in case. For example, recommend-list.json. Oh, now you can see readme.markdown actually is saved. Let me just save this as well. Like, why not? And let's see this file. Where is this file located? It's under user. Okay, now the other file has also been downloaded. If I click on refresh, you can see both files are here. And that is Files Drop. That's everything I want to talk about today. If you have any questions, please visit our Discord server, which can be found on CasaOS.io site, or follow us on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, but now it's called X, CasaOS_official, or visit YouTube. The channel name is CasaOS. It's as simple as that. Please subscribe us, follow us, and then leave your comments. Whether it's question, feedback, recommendation, opinion, everything is appreciated. Thank you. You have a great day.